Hello, hello. It's Nicola here, Nicola Humber, founder of the Unbound Press, here for another episode of the Unbound Writers Club Live, when I am joined, hopefully, by one of our amazing authors who is going to be chatting with me about all things Unbound and Unbound creation. And today I'm going to be joined by the amazing Zoe Foster. I am just going, fingers crossed it works. Hopefully. Yay! Magic! I never cease to get excited about Instagram Live when this happens and the other person pops up. It's like,
it works.
I know. Incredible. And I just love that we've both got, I mean, obviously you've got one of your own creations behind you, but just to let everybody know, this amazing piece of art behind me is one of Zoe's creations, Carly Unbound. And as soon as I saw Zoe sharing about it on Instagram, I think it was at the end of 2020 when I just arrived back in the UK, I was like, she is mine. She needs to be my space.
Yeah, you were like, I'm having that.
I couldn't have let anybody else have her, I'm afraid. So.
And she suits you. Like, even now, I've seen it so many times, and even now I'm still like, yeah, that's Nicola.
Yeah, absolutely. And I still see new pieces, new elements, every time I look at her, I'm like, how have I never noticed that before? Just gorgeous.
So, I love that. Oh, the magic keeps working.
Completely. What we create, it's not static, is it? It continues to evolve and interact with whoever is engaging with it. And it's the same for kind of artwork, and it's the same for books as well. Yeah. So I'm really excited to talk to you about the book you're creating.
Me too.
So you signed with the Unbound Press towards the end of last year, Zoe, to I was going to say but it really is creating, bring through this book that is wanting to be expressed through you. Can you say a little bit more about?
Oh my goodness. Yeah. So that's absolutely the right way to say it, because I have tried to write so many books in the past, and I might go into that a little bit in a short while, but this one I had no intention. There wasn't even an inkling of this is what I want to do, or I would really love to do this but I'm not sure how. None of that. None of the kind of ways that I'm used to being, honestly, when it comes to creating work. How this book came through is actually very similar to how my paintings, or how I allow my paintings to come through now. It just kind of, I in fact, it was on a call with you where you took us into that meditation about meeting your book, and I was like, I don't have a book right now. In my head I was like, nothing's gonna come through, and this just being just came through, and I was like, oh my God. And I'm not going to say there wasn't any doubt. There was, we're all human. But if I'd kind of thought that up in my head, I could easily have just dismissed it. But because it really was a whole being message, and it just felt so grounded in my whole body, my whole being, but expansive at the same time. There's growth there, which has I've never felt that way about any other book. It's always been, this is something I've got to get out of me. Which, it's almost transactional, basically. This didn't feel anything like that. And I just knew that then and there that I had to say yes to it.
Yeah. And you did.
And I did. And honestly, every day I'm like, oh my God, I'm doing this. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. I mean, can you just say a little bit more about what it was like connecting with your book in that way, meeting it for the first time? Because, you know, this is something, it is a process that I take people through.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious about how did your book show up for you?
I'm going to be really honest. I can't remember. Because, you know, that again, that's like a conscious mind kind of
thing.
recall. Whereas, you know, for me, I could if I went into meditation, I could probably tell you. But yeah, I just know that it kind of, there was a feeling, and I think, yeah, I definitely had some images kind of pop up, and but most of all, it was a feeling, and I think I shared on the call at the time that the title came in as well. And there was a little bit of me of, you know, my kind of critical mind was, well, that's a bit trite. But my body was just like, yes.
Yeah. And the title is It's Written in the Stars.
Yeah.
And oh, there's just so much I could dive into with you here, Zoe, because we've had conversations about like you just saying, oh, that title can seem a bit trite, but it feels like we're being invited to go beyond words or beyond how we've experienced particular words in the past. And I really feel like that every time I speak with you.
Yes, and I know that, you know, we've, like, pretty much any time I'm on a call talking about this, it always comes up for me that, like, you know, yesterday we were talking about our collaborative book, and I was bringing out the words kind of vulnerable and real and like connection, and it's like, it's so hard. I get a little bit of a kind of sick feeling in my body when I say those words, because they've been so overused and so misappropriated and so abused in so many different ways that they've come to mean very little. And this is what I struggle with, and why I turned to painting, to be perfectly honest, and that whole being expression, because, you know, words are a patriarchal system. They reflect the dominant structures and narratives and systems of the time, and to be honest, of, you know, our millennial kind of, going back centuries. So yeah, it is really hard to kind of express yourself verbally in a way that is holistic, that is whole being, and you can feel, and, you know, there are moments, right? But for me, actually, I don't think that's so much of the words necessarily as the energy that goes into what is being said, whether that's written or spoken or whatever.
Yeah. We really have to trust that energy, I think, as creators, as writers in particular. Or, you know, anyone who expresses themselves with words, whether that's speaking or writing. But I find it sometimes, I'm like, oh God, this has all been said before, like I'm boring myself.
And it's so easy to slip into that and to start doubting yourself. And that's why whenever I'm kind of, you know, talking about this sort of stuff, I just have to really trust. Like, you will laugh at this. I don't know if you kind of really knew me in my previous incarnation, but I would rehearse things that I wanted to say because I didn't trust that I would come up with the right words at the time. So whether that was for interviews or like Instagram lives or whatever it was, I would have to kind of go, okay, this is what I'm going to say. And I might even have notes as well. And I can't recognize that person now, you know? Sometimes I will have notes, you know, especially if I'm teaching or, you know, leading some people through a process, and I want to make sure I'm covering certain things. But most of all, I'm just trusting what comes up and through in the moment. And it's so liberating. Oh my God.
Yeah. It saves us a lot of time and energy, actually, doesn't it? Like, when you have to prepare everything.
Yeah.
Like, you know,
so
like you say, like there is a time and a place for preparation and like having an idea of what we're gonna focus on. But yeah, I'm so with you there. I remember like back when I was in corporate, like even going to the coffee shop and like ordering my lunch or whatever, I'd be rehearsing it in my mind. I'd be like, oh yeah, I want to say it in the right way. It's like, what on earth?
Yeah.
You know, just exhausting to live like that.
It really is.
I want to talk about like the book or the books that you were thinking you were going to write before, because I know when we first connected you had a book in mind, and I think you'd written a book proposal, or you were working on a book proposal, and I wonder how that differs from It's Written in the Stars.
So in the foreword to this book, that I think is going to be in there, I've basically said that this is the opposite, like complete polar opposite of everything I've tried to write before, because I come from an academic background, and then when I left academia, I went into academic publishing, and you know, like that is just I was so ingrained in that way of being, of researching and like, you know, cross-referencing and backing up everything you say with like multiple kind of, you know, references and all the rest of it, and having lots of quotes from people that, you know stuff. And honestly, I think the reason that I never I always ended up abandoning those books is because there was nothing of me really in it. It was all, it's really hard to explain, but you know, I had my vision and I had my kind of theories, obviously, but really there was nothing. Yeah, there was nothing self-expressed in there. It was a bit like, well, here's just a lot of information that I've gathered, and here's my take on that. You know, very academic, basically. And it wasn't what my soul wanted. You know, and I slaved, Nicola. I slaved, especially at the book previous to this, where, you know, I sent out book proposals to a number of agents and publishers, and I just, you know, my soul knew that there was something else, another path, and I resisted it until it kind of really kind of came through strongly for me, because I really, really felt that, or really, really thought that having that validation was important. That validation of an agent and of a, you know, traditional publisher, and all of the ways that people feel that you have to do a book, because otherwise it's not a real book.
Yeah.
And I had to grow through that, honestly. I had to grow through that judgment and come to it from a completely different place that is not in my head.
Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing that, Zoe, because I'm sure so many watching and listening will resonate. Like, I know so often we've been like conditioned to write in a particular way, and like you say, if we come from an academic or a corporate or both of those things, both of those backgrounds, there's this expectation that you have to write and everything has to be backed up, and it's certainly not enough just to come from you. Like,
you can't just make it up.
Do that. Don't make it up. And I guess it's the same with being a visual artist as well, isn't it? Like, you know, which is such a huge part of who you are and what you do. You know, there can be this reluctance or resistance to kind of owning the fact that you're an artist, the same as with an author or writer. Has that showed up for you as well?
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. But the interesting thing is, because, you know, I have like I've done, you know, art college courses and stuff, but I've never been immersed in that kind of academic pathway in the arts. It's just been kind of something that I've explored in my own time and just, you know, had fun with. And so when I came back to it, it was very much like, oh, I can just have fun with it. And actually that was the main purpose. And I have to bring myself back to that whenever I feel like I'm getting too serious with, like, you know, what is or isn't selling, or, you know, whatever, like, comes up. But actually I think that was really important, was that I came back to it in the first place to just express myself. And it was during the pandemic. It was like quite near the beginning of the pandemic, and obviously we were kind of locked up in our little 2x2 house, and, you know, with 2 kids and a tiny garden, and we lived on a terrace. So there was like tons of other people all doing the same thing, and I just needed an outlet that wasn't verbal, because there was so much like verbal noise at that time, and so much of it was fear-based, and yeah, my soul just said, right, you need to get on some really big paper or, you know, because I had some canvases like lying around, and yeah, the urge was like, and I'd never really painted that big before. I'd kind of I'd done maybe 1 or 2, and that was quite daunting in the past. But you know, when you're faced with that expanse of whiteness, it's like, what do I do? How do I get this right?
Yeah.
But yeah, it really was just that urge it's like, you need to do this. You need to get on that and just express yourself and not question it.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I'm so happy that you did. I'm just going to read this comment from Soulful Renegade. Thank you so much. You put, yes, exactly this. I feel that most things I say from a felt known sense is not valid unless I can back it up with peer-reviewed evidence. Yeah. And that I can't just write from my heart and soul. Oh, yeah. You're definitely not alone in that. And, you know, that's what certainly I personally am so passionate about, that holding space for us to be able to express in that way, and trust that whatever is coming through is what's meant to come through. And, you know, when we started speaking about this book, Zoe, it was like, this is something quite different for us at the Unbound Press, because the books that we've released so far, they've been, I think, like, a couple have had some illustrations in, but very, very minimal. Like they're words, like the words. Whereas this is, you know, it is going to be a combination of the written word, lots of visuals, including your artwork, and, you know, when we first connected, it was like, oh, I'm not quite sure how this is going to work, how we're going to do it. And it's falling into place as we go. We're finding our way as we go. But what's the process like for you, bringing it together and, like, deciding or knowing what needs to be in the book?
Again, it's been like exact kind of opposite of how I've ever approached the book before. It's just kind of come to me bit by bit, and I've just followed those nudges. So at one point, you know, I didn't really have a structure for the book, but I had an idea of some of the themes that I kind of wanted to explore, and absolutely that wisdom piece, that wisdom over knowledge piece is a significant part of this book. Because and I think this is, that so needs addressed. It so needs to be fully addressed and expressed right now, because, you know, we're done with centuries of oppression, of that kind of, you know, divine feminine like wisdom. And I just on a little tangent, I want to tell you about my daughter, who came to me yesterday saying that she wanted to make a balm, like a kind of a bug balm type thing. And I was like, oh, I don't know if you've really got the right ingredients, darling. I know that we don't have tea tree oil, and I think that's pretty much an essential component of that. And she went away and she just decided to make it anyway. This is what I would have done when I was little as well. Just like, oh, what do they know? Just look at myself. And she put in cedarwood instead, which has very similar properties. And I was like, did you know that? Or did you like look it up? Or did you just kind of go with what you had? And she was like, well, I just thought it seemed like the right thing to put in. And I was like, that's just, you know, it's so amazing, so beautiful. She's not that knowledgeable about these things on a kind of intellectual level, but she knew.
Yeah.
So bring me back, what we were talking about.
No, I'm just like, that kind of brings tears to my eyes, because we do know that we always know. And it's trust that is the key piece, and it's so easy for us to get knocked out of that. So beautiful. No, I was talking about bringing the book together, and like, how do you know what's meant to be in it? How's that process for you?
So I knew that I wanted it to be like a multi-sensory experience. And, you know, I talk a lot about whole being, and I didn't just want it, obviously, I didn't just want it to kind of be like words, or even, you know, so there's poetry. Pretty much with every painting I do, there's a poem that comes through with it. Not always, but quite often. And so there's poetry, and there's pieces of reflection of where I might be talking about, you know, a part of my own story, or just, you know, I'm quite a philosopher. So, you know, kind of bringing in elements of what's going on in the world right now and just kind of reflecting on that. So there's those pieces as well. And then there's also kind of meditations where they're a very active component. I call them transmutations, because it's taking you from one feeling, like it might be, you know, there's so much darkness around right now, I don't know how to cope with that, and transmuting that through feelings verbalized, essentially. And taking it out right the way through to the other side. So you're not just kind of trying to kind of gloss over it, but you're actually taking it all the way through. You're acknowledging all of those feelings and transmuting them. So I knew that I wanted to kind of access for people to access different parts of themselves on a soul level in what I was sharing. So that was the words, the different ways of kind of sharing verbally. But then there's also obviously going to be my paintings, or bits of my paintings. I don't know if most people know, but my paintings are all very big.
Yeah, they are.
So kind of reducing them to like little pictures in a book, you know, full size won't work that well probably. But yeah, so I'll definitely be sharing bits of those in the book, and hopefully kind of bringing it all together so it's a really immersive experience. So you can literally open it and experience it on all the different levels of self and soul. And yeah, I don't know how else to describe that, really.
Again, it goes beyond words. So I've just got such a strong felt sense of your book, and I can imagine it being here, like in my presence, and just I can just feel the energetic quality of it. It just feels like it's just giving off such a potent energy. Just having it in my presence is going to be really, really potent, and it's going to be really powerful for everybody who gets to have a copy. And it's so great that you mentioned the word transmutation, because actually Kate Moores has just was putting about early lockdown. She said that space really gave us gold in the darkness, transformative times, which are ongoing, aren't they? You know. Really,
for sure. Oh my god, yeah. But yeah, you know, up until that point, I had denied myself the right even to paint as a hobby. You know, it felt indulgent, and it felt superfluous, and it felt just like, what's the point, really? But when pushed to it, my soul knew, actually, and it is always known, because I've always had those nudges, like, oh, I'd really like to do that again, I'd really like to get back to it, but nah.
yeah it's yeah, again, I resonate with that so much. Like, I always knew when I was little, like, always loved writing, like, just loved it so much. And even, you know, up to my mid 40s, you know, when I was doing this work and on this path, I would still just push that away. It's like, oh no, that's for somebody else, it's not for me. Or, oh yeah, maybe I could do it, but I'd have to do it in a very particular kind of way. You know, that it was very kind of like professional and business-like, and like had a like really specific purpose. And you know, if I'm going to do it, that it has to do that. And it took me a long time to realize, no, that's not the way. Like, I can just allow what wants to come through. So thank you for just modeling that to us so beautifully.
Well,
so
honestly,
everything you do.
Thank you. I honestly wouldn't be here without, you know, the amazing goddesses that are kind of supporting me on this journey. Because, you know, like you knew exactly, and Jo as well, Jo Gifford, she was like, yeah, I knew that book was waiting for you. Like, I could see it, I could feel it, I could like hold it in my hands. I was like, why didn't you tell me?
But that's the thing we need to know. Is like, I had people coming to me, like, before I started the Unbound press, like the year before. I had a couple of people like, oh, I can see you doing this, and like helping or holding space for other women to write their books. And I was like, no, you know, it's only when it really like landed within me that I was able to like fully receive that and move forwards with it. So interesting.
Totally.
You kind of spoke there, you know, about the power of community, sisterhood, like having your people around you as you're on this path. And I'm just wondering, for people who are watching this, people who are listening and thinking, oh, this sounds really juicy, and I kind of want to be on this journey with Zoe, what's the best way for them to do that?
You know what? It's so funny, because I want to address the first thing you said, actually, about being in community and being supported. I had been a loner for such a long time, feeling like I could do it all myself. And, you know, even when I started to join groups and kind of containers, whether that's on Facebook or wherever, you know, group programs, stuff like that, I still carried this belief that I had to do it myself, and also that I was the odd one out. you know, that everybody else could be in their girly groups, as I kind of, you know, kind of felt like it was. There's the witch wound, the sister wound, right? And yeah, Soulful Renegade says, yeah,
Hard relate.
Yeah. And it's only through doing so much healing and inner, you know, the real soul work, honestly, that I've come to really honor, respect, and just feel so grateful for the connections that I am making, and the, you know, really like deep, real connections that I'm making, and trusting in those as well, because I know when they feel right, and my brain doesn't really get in the way anymore. It doesn't kind of go back into that, oh, but she's just been doing that because she wants something, or, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, absolutely, connect with me. Just message me. I would love to hear from people who are maybe kind of on this path, but they just need a little bit of connection, sisterhood, a bit of kind of ability to get some help with actually accessing their soul expression, and they don't know where to start, you know. That's what I'm all about. I'm, you know, I, through my SacredExpression method, but also kind of just one-to-one and stuff, that's what I'm absolutely all about, is getting into what your soul wants and helping you to bring it out, because what else are we here for, really?
Yeah, completely. Exactly. Yeah. If we're not doing that, then what's the point?
Yeah.
And as you were saying that, I'm thinking or feeling back into the experience that I had when I did the session with you and Yolandi Boshoff a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
Some of your SacredExpression work, which was so, like, my first taste of it. I've wanted to do it for ages, and it was just so incredibly powerful, just to have that big old blank piece of paper and just to let my body express what it wanted to. So
yeah,
I know you've got one of those happening tomorrow.
Yeah, so they happen every month. I've got a full moon circle, so yeah, we gather every full moon, and we just get ourselves into a really deliciously embodied space, fully embodied in our, you know, whole presence, and then we allow what wants to come through us onto the paper, and it's so much fun. It's messy, it's delicious, and it's always surprising as well. Like, you just never know what's going to come out, and it, you know, to some people that could be scary, because it's like, oh, I don't know what's going to happen, but actually it's always beautiful. Even when, you know, you're bringing up and kind of channeling through some of the stuff, like the shadow stuff, it's still done in such an easeful way that it doesn't feel heavy. It's just, yeah, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. For me, it was because, you know, it wasn't coming from this heady place of like, oh, let me examine what's coming up here. And
exactly.
Like, you know, and even journal on it. It was like, no, I'm letting it come out. I'm letting my body move in the way that she wants to. And like, I am making a huge mess on this piece of paper and a mess on myself. I just loved it. I loved it so much.
Oh,
so
amazing.
I can't wait to join another one sometime soon. Oh, Zoe, I'm just so grateful to you. I'm so grateful that we get to play like this, and
me too,
that you're part of the Unbound Press family, and I am beyond excited for this book to come together and be released into the world, because it really feels like this portal, like You know, I
Yeah.
often talk about books as portals, but this one particularly feels like a
Yeah.
really powerful portal.
Yeah, it does for me too, you know, personally more than anything, but I know and hope that it's going to be a portal for other people. That's definitely my hope and intention, I guess, is that it will be a portal for everybody who reads slash experiences her to really open up and begin to access all the parts of themselves. And yeah, that real soul piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, I feel like your book is a portal for the Unbound Press as well. And I really want to thank you for that, because, you know, from us having the initial conversations and you like deciding to create and publish the book with the Unbound Press, it feels like there's a lot more kind of like of these visual books coming through, and I think you're really paving the way for that. So thank you so much.
Amazing. That's so cool.
Really,
I'm excited to see what these other books are as well, because I've read little bits about each of them, and it's like, wow.
yeah, it feels like it's time for this. We definitely, well, one of the other books, I think the working title is Beyond Words, so we're definitely going beyond words.
Yes, I love that so much.
So you're such a wayfinder. You really are. So grateful to have you by my side. Thank you so much for joining me today, Zoe. It's just been a pleasure as always.
Gorgeous. Thank you.
Oh, I'll see you soon.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.